Hello, good evening, everybody. How are we doing? Are you good? Have you had your day's been a good one? I'm enjoying the bright blue sunshine at the minute, properly enjoying it, even though it's quite chilly outside. So, I'm gonna say hello to everybody because obviously, Chimp's Tea Party is just all a bit of a relaxed affair. So, who was first in? Kaz Scarlett, well done, you were first in. No Effing Ghosts, good evening. Chris Williams, Gillian Daniels, hello. The lovely Diane. Hello, hello. Let's move this chat down. Mike O, good evening. Gillian. Oh, if I said Gillian Daniels, I already have. Kim, good evening. Caroline, hello. Loretta, Weird Fox Lou, good evening. Spange, hello, hello. And Bean and Raven, good evening. Simon's coming in and bumps into things in the night. Hello. Who we got? Mad Wecker, good evening. Who else we got? Dark Veil, the lovely Tim. Happy Thursday, bitches. It's the way to go, and that's why I made you a mod. Good evening, Roger. How are we doing? And who else we got coming in? Laura Wilson and Chris Yule. Good evening. And who else we got? Oh, all these people saying hello to each other. It's gorgeous. Lovely, lovely community of people coming in. Hope we're doing good. So that's lots of lovely pomp. Good evening. Mythos. Hello, hello. And Cherry Fizz. Good evening. And if I miss people as you kind of drift on in, I apologize. How are we doing? Are you good? So obviously this evening it's going to be obviously all about reincarnation and your thoughts and theories and things like that. So it's like I say, it's quite a nice relaxed one. But before I go any further, I need to introduce you to a new member of the team. That being, and I kind of briefly showed this on the stream, my little paranormal monkey. Oh, how good is he now? That I would try and show you, but it will just go out of focus. So this little paranormal monkey, who's just amazing, by the way, who I absolutely adore and love, and it's proper creepy. Matt, been made by Weird Fox Lou. So give obviously lots of love to and chat in the chat for Weird Fox Lou. Please obviously follow her. She makes some really cool things, and she's made this. Well, first of all, I think this is that if you watched the Ouija Brothers the other night, you'll see that Griff had a Call of Duty monkey. This was the Call of Duty monkey before Lou got her hands on it, and it's now a pretty dead, bloody, terrifying proper monkey, which is just amazing. And I will get him working, and I will get it. What the idea is, obviously, this is an alarm clock. It wasn't an alarm clock. So I will get him working. At the minute, the lead's not long enough for it to work at the minute, but I'm going to get him to work so that on the hour at 9 o'clock, when my stream is meant to finish, he's going to go off. And it will just tell me to stop the stream, to say and stop waffling. Jillian Daniels, I know you'll like that because I know how much you love me waffling. So yes, he's going to bang those cymbals at 9 o'clock when the hour is up. I don't know whether I'll do that with the guests because it's kind of rude. But definitely on a tea party, I'll think, okay, I'll stick to an hour. And when the monkey goes off, that's the end of the stream, pretty much. So yes, he'll be on this shelf right behind me. So yeah, loving him. Very cool. And I'll put him up on here just so he can kind of slightly freak everybody out. So he's going to stay there for the moment. So yeah, cool. Anyway, how are we doing? Better mascot than Billy the Bullshit Slayer from I know, from Paranormal Truth when we did that. Yeah. But yeah, I think I might need to, because he's a bit, obviously I kind of have him out of focus. So I might need to make it a little bit more in focus, but I don't need kind of being freaked out by the monkey. You do waffle though. Thanks very much, guys. There's lots of love from Gillian. Anyway, how are we doing? Hope we're good. Everyone said hello to everybody yet? He's still doing the rounds. Hey, Mike. Hey, Caroline. How are we doing? Hi, Sarah. Anyway, so reincarnation. Now, obviously, some of you, there is absolutely no scientific proof or evidence for reincarnation whatsoever. Yes, I'm wearing the Ghostbusters t-shirt. There it is. So yeah, there's no actual scientific evidence. I mean, obviously, because you can't verify the afterlife. It's very straightforward. However, I think that obviously there are a number of religions around the world that believe in reincarnation. I'm not going to get into the kind of religious aspect so much, but obviously you've got, was it Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism? A lot of the main religions believe in reincarnation. It is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Good hair. Thanks. It's got nothing to do with reincarnation, but fair enough, I'll take it. And no, it's not just for men. For those people that thought, bloody Beardo, the other night was saying he thought I had just for men because he thought I was like, he's just jealous because Beardo's fully grey and he's younger than me. It's not just for men. Look, you can see grey coming. Unfortunately, too much grey, but there we go. Anyway, so, but what I'm really, really, really fascinated by, Justinism, what I'm really fascinated by is the whole idea of past lives and the older and those children, those very young children that seemingly have remembered details from when they apparently had been born before. Now, I'm really interested in this. Now, I'm just going to show you a picture. Now, I'll get, when I was probably 12, 13, I read this book. This book is called The Children That Time Forgot. It didn't look like this. This is a bit of a reprint here. It's well worth, if you're kind of interested in this. This book is dead cheap. It's about £5, I think, on Amazon. So it's not that expensive. The Children That Time Forgot. I think it's roughly about 30 odd different cases where children have seemingly remembered events from their previous lives. Now, I read this when I was like early teens. Absolutely fascinated by it. And it properly got me thinking about reincarnation. Now, a bit later on, in about 20 odd minutes, I'm going to have a guest on, which is, I don't usually have a guest on for this kind of thing, but I'm having a guest on. It's a guest I've had on before on the podcast, but I think he's the perfect person to speak to about reincarnation and about this whole thing because it's cool. I also want to, anybody who's my age, I'm 47. Anybody who's kind of roughly my age would have been brought up by a certain TV show called Arthur C. Clarke's World of Strange Powers. Now, I might get a copyright strike. I'm just pre-warning you. Hopefully, I don't get kicked off like Beardo did. And I'm going to play a little clip of Arthur C. Clarke's World of Strange Powers. And we're going to go back in time to I think I don't know when it came out, mid-80s? Something like that. I think it was mid-80s. So it's, it's a little bit dated, but for anybody who loved the Arthur C. Clarke series, they're going to, like I said, it's just, I adore this series. I properly adore this series. So let me do a screen share and we'll play it. I'll stop at different points. Obviously, we'll talk about it, and there'll hopefully be lots of love for this series. Okay. Or is it bringing it back? Bringing it back. Now then, I'll this because hopefully there's no issues with sound.
This is the editorial office of The Sun, one of Sri Lanka's most popular newspapers. The journalists behind me are writing up tomorrow's edition. Stories of politics, sports, human interest, the kind of material that sells newspapers all over the world. But there's one kind of story that The Sun thrives on, that you'll hardly ever see in the Western press.
Now, before we go any further, just to remind people, Arthur C. Clarke, for those that don't realize, he was a science fiction writer and an inventor. He was part of the Apollo missions in terms of not the astronaut, but obviously he was helping NASA get the astronauts up into space and get them to the moon. He also invented the telecommunication satellite. This is an incredibly, incredibly clever man. And this series just ran early 80s. It had all manner of paranormal things as part of it. I adored it. This guy lived in Sri Lanka, hence why he's based in Sri Lanka. And I think this was the first time I heard the story of children apparently having a past life and being reincarnated. So we'll carry on.
And there are bulging files on it here. These are stories of reincarnation. They tell of young children who, often as soon as they can speak, talk about their real parents and their other homes. They seem to recall previous lives, often in such detail that they not only provide good copy for local journalists, but they persuade researchers all over the world that there's a phenomenon here worth investigating. Here's a story of a little boy, Ajit, who remembers drowning 5 years ago. And here is a story about a little 5-year-old girl who thinks she's a man who was killed in a road accident. But the story which most fascinates me is one that comes from the place I love most in Sri Lanka, the beautiful little bay of Unawatuna. on the shores of the Indian Ocean.
Right. So before getting into this, obviously, what I find kind of interesting is that partly is that the whole idea of reincarnation seems to have a lot, obviously because of religious reasons, a lot bigger sway and a lot more, like I said, a lot more press coverage, even in the 80s, you know, when there was newspapers, around reincarnation. It's not really a thing in the Western world so much. We hear about it, but it's obviously a huge deal in around Asia. And like I said, it's just fascinating that we in the West don't have as much of a hold or a belief in reincarnation as some other countries.
The story is a tragic reminder of Sri Lanka's brief but bloody insurrection of 1971. A captured rebel, a young man named Robert, leapt to his death into the sea. His close companion, Johnny, had already been killed. These twin girls were not born until 7 years later, yet almost as soon as they could speak, they claimed to be reincarnations of Johnny and Robert. Shiromi recounts gruesome details of Johnny's death. Shivanti says she remembers leaping into the sea with her wrists wired together. Such stories are intriguing, but for them to be accepted as evidence of reincarnation, every detail must be checked by a trusted investigator.
Journalist Delreen Vijaratne covers many reincarnation stories. The latest comes from a jungle village, Pethiyagada. In this case, 4-year-old Inoka is the child who claims to have lived before. The story goes that when she first began to talk, Inoka told her mother, Rita Sriyani, that she had another family. They lived in a town called Minawangada. She claimed to remember having 2 sisters and a brother. They lived in much less primitive surroundings. Their house had running water and electricity. Inoka's mother says she'd never believed in reincarnation, and she certainly wasn't going to trek 6 miles through the jungle to Minawangada to check Inoka's claims.
At first, we started ignoring her conversation because we didn't want our only daughter to talk about another family, another father and another mother.
But Inoka's grandmother, Kiriyama, did listen to the tales of the little girl, and in the end was persuaded to take her to Minawangada.
Okay, so see, this is what I find really interesting, is that obviously you have these accounts from young children, usually between the age of 2 and 5. These memories seem to kind of tend to fade as they get older. So by the time they get to about 6 or 7, they've completely forgotten about these issues around the past life and what happened and details. So when they're really young, it's what I find really interesting is when they remember specific details, and I think this goes into that a little bit. I won't play the whole thing, but it goes into details about how they remember streets and family relatives and the exact, you know, the occurrence around their death. I want to get your opinions on this. Do you think there's any truth in it? Do you think that these children have just, you know, listened to things, overheard things? Is it just, is it just something where they've overheard a conversation, they're kind of picking up on things and they turn it into stories, which is what some skeptics believe? Or do you think there's some real truth behind this stuff?
At the Buddhist temple there, the priests were intrigued, but not surprised, for Buddhists believe in reincarnation. They soon discovered that 8 years before, an 11-year-old girl called Milani had died in a motorbike accident. She'd had 1 brother and 2 sisters, and they'd lived in this modern house. It all fitted Inoka's description. When she was taken there, her first reactions amazed her mother, Rita Sriyani.
She was no stranger in that house, and her first question was, "Where's my doll?" She started calling the mother of her previous life Mummy, and Rita Sriyani was quite unhappy about it. And she was asking for all the toys of her previous birth.
Today, Inoka frequently makes the journey to Minawangada. Milani's father welcomes Inoka as a member of the family. Bandu accepts her as his reborn sister.
See, I find that really, like the fact that they've gone to the other family and they're just fully accepting of the details that she's coming out with, and they accept it almost as a family member from the previous life. It's just, I mean, I love this kind of stuff. And this is why I loved this stuff when I was a kid as well. The fact that it's just fully accepted by other religions around the world. It's just accepted as truth.
The girls say Inoka knew their names the first time she came to play. And she went straight to this cupboard for the dead girl's suitcase of toys. She identified Milani's photograph as my picture, and she calls Mrs. Godagampala her real mother.
And what difference did Inoka's arrival make to your life?
I'm very happy because I had 3 or 4 children. I lost one and I got her back again.
I see no other explanation to this story other than reincarnation. I mean, how can you expect a girl from Pettiagoda, that's 6 miles away from this spot, to talk of a family in Minuangoda that she has never seen or heard before?
See, the other thing, I mean, skeptically, you're thinking, well, okay, if you fully believe in, oh, what's happened? Have I been kicked? Uh-oh. Hang on a minute. Uh-oh. Hang on a second. Oh, can you see me? Is it going? Can you see me? Hello?